Video games have evolved and grown immensely since the 1970s. The gaming industry started with pay-to-play models where customers purchased single-name titles on video game consoles. In the 2000s, free-to-play models emerged on mobile devices, supported financially with in-game purchases. It's safe to say the industry has grown substantially since the early days of Pong and Nintendo 64, and video games now represent a $300 billion market. At least that's according to Accenture. Yet the emergence of blockchain technology has opened the door to a new video game model, often dubbed play-to-earn or GameFi. Put simply, in these blockchain-based models, players' in-game actions translate into real-world value. The items, skins, or other assets obtained in the game world may be held directly as NFTs or non-fungible tokens. Rewards earned in the game may take the form of cryptocurrencies, which can be moved out of the game world and used however the player likes. Some play-to-earn games, such as Axie Infinity or Splinterlands, have gained millions of users and revenue. Yet risks and uncertainties remain in their sustainability and economic models. While the industry is still innovating, it is clear that blockchain-based models are disrupting this billion-dollar industry, and gaming represents a strong use case for mainstream adoption. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Blockchain Co-Investors webinar. What is blockchain-based gaming? My name is Mitch Vishigan, and I'm a partner at Blockchain Co-Investors. As always, I need to show you this disclaimer page. While we are an investment firm and do offer investment products, nothing in this webinar should be construed as investment advice. Again, this is purely for educational purposes only. So this is who we are. We are an integrated investment platform operating since 2014, and there's three main things we do. The first of which is operate a fund of funds. Through these funds, we're investors in more than 40 of the leading blockchain VCs. And through those funds, we're indirect investors in more than 500 underlying projects and startups. We also have two direct vehicles, the first of which is our early stage token fund, which takes direct stakes into early stage token projects. And the second is our mid-stage growth platform. And through our mid-stage growth fund, we invest directly into typically the series A, B, and C rounds of the emerging category leaders. At Blockchain Co-Investors, we track the recently minted unicorns. And as of June of this year, we figured that we had stakes in 62% of the 93 enterprise unicorns, and similarly held positions in 56% of the more than 50 crypto projects with token valuations in excess of 1 billion. So again, here's our platform with a little bit more detail. We won't spend a lot of time here. But again, we have our family fund of funds. We're up to our third fund now, which is open. We'll have its final close later this year. The first fund is the world's best performing fund of fund in its category. That's according to Preqin and PitchBook. Our early stage token fund is open and investing, and our mid-stage growth fund builds on the track record of our SPV program, and we're about to close our 11th or 12th SPV this month. And then finally, we won't spend a lot of time on this today, but we do operate the world's largest and most well-capitalized blockchain-specific SPAC. So if you are an accredited investor or a qualified client and you're interested in learning more about any of our open funds, feel free to email us at ir@blockchaincoinvestors.com. So what is blockchain-based gaming? Well, blockchain-based gaming, as I said up front, is also referred to sometimes as play-to-earn or GameFi or play-to-own. And it's basically a new gaming model in which players receive rewards with real-world value and own digital items. And even more so, it's an open economy where that value can flow in and out of the game. So you're not sequestered inside of this gaming world. This play-to-earn model is differentiated, but not mutually exclusive from other gaming models, such as pay-to-play and free-to-play, which we'll go over subsequently. And then lastly, very important to us here at Blockchain Co-Investors, we see play-to-earn as a real-world blockchain use case that's working today and a viable route for mainstream blockchain adoption. And really, Axie Infinity changed the game. So Axie Infinity is a blockchain-based game that started out on Ethereum. And in Axie Infinity, players battle, breed, collect, raise, and build kingdoms for Axies. And axes are those little creatures you see on the upper right-hand side there. Each axis is represented as an NFT. In order to develop axis characters, basically the players in the game fight monsters called chimera, which allow them to earn resources or items that upgrade their axes or plots of land. And very importantly, in order to breed these new axes, you must pay in the Smooth Love Potion token, or SLP, and the cost of breeding increases, subsequently, and eventually your axis can no longer breed. Similarly, when you battle, you can win these SLP tokens. And very importantly here, these SLP tokens are tokens on a public blockchain, which you can do whatever you want with. So you can sell them on a decentralized exchange, trade them to other players, swap them for other axes. And that token can move in and out of the economy and be exchanged for, whatever you want, USDC, Bitcoin, etc. There's another token in the game called the Axie token, which is mainly used for governance and staking, but also retains value. And Axie at its height, and you can see some of the figures there on the left, they had an NFT sale in excess of $2 million and millions of players at one point. They crossed $4 billion in NFT sales and had nearly 3 million users worldwide at its height. And because of this, Axie's game developer Sky Mavis, in its latest round, which was led by Andreessen Horowitz, they were valued at over $3 billion. However, with the fall in market prices, the sustainability of Axie's in-game model also faltered. So its token SLP fell from its high in early 2021, and consequently, many players stopped playing the game. So because of this, it was clear that a large number of the players were only playing to earn, rather than for some intrinsic entertainment value or simply the fun of the game. So just like that positive feedback loop of value creation that brought in the players, the unwind in prices reversed many of the gains. Yet, Axie is still a major success for the industry as the first major breakout blockchain-based game, demonstrating the massive potential in the space. And Axie is definitely not dead yet. The game developers are still working to fix the in-game economic mechanics, and it's still a top 10 blockchain-based game, as you'll see later in the presentation. But at Blockchain Coinvestors, we think this is an extremely valuable use case that demonstrates the efficacy of blockchain gaming, but really shows the importance that games still need to be fun on their own right, rather than simply offering economic incentives or rewards to get players to join. That's something that's much harder to maintain, through market cycles. For the rest of the presentation, we'll go over what is blockchain-based gaming exactly. We'll talk about the market and some industry leaders, and then finally, we'll get into why this is all important, why you should care. So what is blockchain-based gaming? Well, again, you heard play to earn, and in its simplest form, again, it's an open economy in the gaming industry. But maybe more concretely, it's games that are built on blockchain technology, which allow you to own actual items via NFTs and retain real-world value and move that value in and out of the ecosystem. So here's a great graphic from our friends at Masari, and it just shows kind of the evolution of gaming. So, on the left, you have the pay-to-play era, and these eras are not over, but they just kind of help you form a mental model of the different types of business models in the gaming industry. And this is the simplest kind of one you think of right off the bat. You purchase World of Warcraft, you purchase 2K22 in advance, and you can play that on your game console or on your mobile or on your PC. And essentially the monetization strategy is you pay and then you can play the game, though you can always have other add-on things like subscription services or in-game purchases as well. Really, with the advent of mobile and the rise of smartphones proliferating, the freemium model or the free-to-play model started to emerge in kind of the mid-2000s, near 2010 in particular. And people thought that this was not going to be a viable route initially, but it turned out to be a huge route for monetization in the gaming industry, particularly with Fortnite. When that came out, became the most popular game in the world at one time. And again, it's exactly what it sounds like. You can start playing the game for free. You don't need to pay anything to play the game. And the monetization strategy is that various things in the game are going to cost extra. So maybe you need to pay extra to unlock a map. Maybe you need to pay extra to get a certain weapon or get a certain skin to make your player look a certain way. And so that's the monetization strategy, but they are free to play. On the right again, here we are to blockchain-based games, and this is where the players actually own in the value of the game. And so they can be free to play or they can be pay to play, but essentially the players are able to capture some of that value they're putting into the game. So they can, own the skins and items as NFTs, and instead of receiving gold or something like this, in game you might receive Bitcoin or you might receive the native token of the game like SLP and Axie. And here, the monetization strategy from the game developer side is NFT sales. So they're selling NFTs, but also, if they get the game mechanics right, typically the game developers will retain some level of the tokens and the tokens can appreciate. So here's a bit more on that. We've said all of this, so we won't spend a lot of time here, but you can see on the upper left again, in the traditional sense, the players play cash, they receive some sort of item in the game, and the item is sequestered in that game ecosystem, perpetually. You can't get it out. Moving to the right, you can see that it's much more circular. So players are able to take rewards out of the game. So they're still receiving items, but then, value from the game may flow to a community DAO in a lot of cases, though not always, but eventually makes its way back to the developers. And on the bottom, you can see, our partners at 1KX, they showed how this could, create a positive feedback loop in which, better games accrue more value, and that value then goes right back into the game, giving more resources to create better games. And you can see that this model offers substantial benefits. So again, a new monetization strategy for game developers, particularly independent game developers, as a way to bootstrap and get users by using tokenization to solve the cold start problem. Economic opportunity, we haven't spoken about this yet, but, in the case of Axie, for instance, it was most popular actually in the Philippines and Ghana, where many players were able to earn far above the minimum wage by simply playing the game. So it opens up, lots of opportunities for additional ways in which people can actually earn income by playing games. Transparency. Again, so these are built on public blockchains, so you can see where all the value is accruing and where it's moving. And then retention, you're creating additional incentives to keep players participating in your ecosystem. However, there are risks with any early stage technology, and we want to be eyes wide open about them. So, if you've seen some of our other presentations, you know that hacks are a major problem in the blockchain ecosystem, and gaming is no different. So, in the case of Axie Infinity, again, their main gameplay was actually taking place on a side chain called Ronin, which was essentially an Ethereum copycat with a smaller number of nodes. And Ronin was actually exploited in the last year, and a lot of value was drained from that project. So it is something that, people are highly focused on is protecting these networks. High gas fees and network costs. So we'll talk about which blockchains upon which the games are actually operating. But again, many of the blockchains simply have too high of usage costs to support many games. And that's because in these games, depending on how they're built, you may have every single thing happening in the game, being stored on the blockchain, maybe not. You can have different models for that. But even if it is 50 cents a transaction and you're doing thousands of transactions, it simply is too expensive for the average user to play. Multi-tier marketing schemes. So again, you can't skirt regulation here, and gamers and investors need to be very careful that they're not engaging in any sort of Ponzi-like schemes or multi-tier marketing schemes. And then finally, long-term staying power. Gaming is, trends come and go, and it's, very important that they build these economies to withstand market conditions. And also, as I said up front, have some intrinsic entertainment value. The games need to be fun. Otherwise, players won't stick around. So what does the market look like? Well, here's another great graphic from Masari that shows the technology stack in the gaming ecosystem. We won't go through all of these in super detail, but on the top, again, you have the actual games in which players are using. And on the bottom, you have the developers. There are Sky Mavis, but also some big ones are Forte and Dapper Labs. And they choose to build, on different blockchains, and we'll talk about which ones are popular. The only other thing I would point out here is the layer 4 player experiences. Again, you have, because of these new economic models and systems, we're getting some very interesting innovation happening. I'd point out Yield Guild. And so you're seeing the emergence of guilds in which, because NFTs may, gain a lot of value and become incredibly expensive, they may be difficult for new users to actually use the NFTs. So in the case of Axie again, or Splinterlands, and maybe is a good example, which is a card-based game like Magic the Gathering. Many of the best cards are simply too expensive for new players to use. So guilds have started to form where people are pooling resources to rent and borrow and lend out assets in the game, kind of creating mini financial institutions in the game world. It's very interesting development, and something, again, opened up by the use of blockchain technology. So our team ran a competitive analysis of the top 10 blockchain-based games. I just wanted to share some of the high-level findings with you all here. So here are the top 10 games according to DappRadar, which is a consideration of users and value, but heavily weighted towards users. And you can see the top games here. Again, Splinterlands is the top game according to DappRadar, and they have, I believe, even in the bear market, more than 500,000 daily active users and have had billions of transactions in their game. Axie Infinity, again, was the top game and has definitely seen the most value accrued to it. So it has the most expensive NFTs and operates on Ethereum, and that's a large part of the reason why, but has dropped down recently, but still remains in the top 10. So now, here's some of the different mechanics that they've decided to employ. So you can see most are free to start, but some aren't. All of them have some sort of play to earn mechanic in them. Many of them have these peer-to-peer markets, so you can actually start to swap assets, inside the game. You don't have to go out to a separate decentralized exchange. Some are offering those rentals directly, and then when they aren't, many are offering, or many yields or yield guilds have popped up. You have the ability to exchange assets in the game, and then also liquidity pools. And again, like I said, some are bridging, two different chains. And so, again, very interesting. It is a multi-chain offering. And so a large part of the reason of Splinterland's success is the fact that it's available on 5 chains, or really 6 chains, actually. And you can see here that, again, the main chains typically are not Ethereum or Bitcoin because of the high fees. And I think Hive and Wax, as you'll see on the next page, have most of the transaction market share because they are gasless blockchains. And the sector has not been immune to the downturn, which we've seen. So this comes from CoinMarketCap's GameFi report that you can see on the top there that many of the top tokens related to games have fallen substantially. But I would point you there to the bottom right to see that despite the decrease in token prices, we are seeing substantial amount of development still occurring across the chains. And again, as of right now, Wax and Hive are really seeing most of the market share in terms of transactions. And some other trends I just wanted to point out to everyone. We're also seeing an increase in branded IP deals. So this is where blockchain-based games are partnering with major brands. Splinterlands has announced its partnership with the Major League Soccer Players Association, also with Waka Flocka. So this is really starting to occur on a wide scale as brands see the value in this space. Cross-chain compatibility is key. So again, one reason why Splinterlands is leading is they're built across most of the popular NFT chains. And so this is becoming a very big trend we're seeing in the gaming ecosystem. And then finally, you're seeing an increased integration with DeFi. So again, you're seeing staking exchanges, peer-to-peer markets, bridges. DeFi Kingdoms is probably the prime example here. So why is this all important? Well, at Blockchain Coinvestors, we believe blockchain holds the potential to revolutionize several industries, and we think it's a true horizontal. But more so than that, we believe that blockchain has the potential to offer individual sovereignty over a host of assets, whether financial, data, or other resources. And really, most simply said, that is allowing users to retain more of the value they create. So you can think about it again, in a typical gaming model, players are putting in hundreds of hours, sometimes more than that, into games, and all of that value is now accruing, and the popularity of the game and the value accruing is going to developers and companies. But in this model, individuals, particularly first users of a game, are able to retain more of that value that you create. You're able to actually, hold on to some of that, economic activity that you're putting out into the economy. Additionally, gaming is one of its most promising and current use cases. So again, as we've said, there are dozens of games, more than that out there working with thousands of users, some with millions of users. The games work or operating on blockchains. And so it's a real use case that we're seeing right now. And it's our belief that, after more development occurs, that many thousands, if not millions of people that will be playing video games in the future will be using blockchain technology and probably won't even know it. And you can see again from the blockchain side that gaming is starting to take up a large share of the activity that's occurring. So if you look at the active wallets in the blockchain space, again, gaming now is more than 50% of the activity occurring. And similarly, we're seeing interest from the mainstream, but also from investors. So you can see on the bottom there that in 2021, gaming was a very hot topic for investors, not only for your crypto native firms like A16Z or Paradigm, but also from more of your traditional technology investing firms such as Sequoia or SoftBank. And this is a trend. We don't have the data yet for 2022, but we can tell you anecdotally that this is a trend we have been seeing in the marketplace. People are very excited about the potential of gaming and blockchain. So to recap what we went over today, again, blockchain-based gaming or play to earn. This is the gaming model in which is based on an open economy in the game world in which players can retain real world value, own digital items, and receive rewards for playing the game. This model, again, is differentiated but not mutually exclusive from the pay-to-play and free-to-play models. And we think at Blockchain Co-Investors that play-to-earn represents a real-world blockchain use case and viable route for mainstream blockchain adoption. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at ir@blockchaincoinvestors.com.